We usually do a coaching podcast or a hometown based podcast. Today is the rare two birds with one stone. I've got Jake Stewart, head coach of Harrisburg High School girls basketball with me today. Jake, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. We just discussed before this that we're binging some March Madness. However, you are coaching softball, and that's not fair. March Madness should be a holiday. How are you coping with missing most of the games?
Man, it's tough. Like I told you, I had my phone in the dirt. The other day watching the games, hitting infield to the girls. So, uh, just on and off my phone. This is the best time of year for me. I love obviously basketball. College basketball is my thing. So, just trying to check here and there when I can.
Give me a real quick summary of what you think happened to Duke in the first round, because and I know they won. A win's a win. However, you're really playing with your food there and in a dangerous way. So what were you thinking as it was getting close?
Well, I really can't say what I was thinking, but I was pretty much sick to my stomach. I was busy getting the concession stand ready, cleaning it out, doing stuff like that. Got home, we had a game. Look at the score; they're down 12, and I'm like just staring at it, like what is happening. So, and I had to go, get ready, go back to the field. Um, I started watching on my way back to the field, and I they just man, like I think nowadays the tournament's so good. Like I've watched the other 16 seeds. I've got to actually like sit down and watch a few of the games, and Sienna's really good. Like they have some guys. The Doty guy, he can play. And it just takes one game. If you're hot and making shots, which they were, Duke wasn't making anything. Duke went zone. That kind of slowed Sienna down, and they got out of the shooters easier because they were just all they were doing was just spreading and driving. It's like a 5-out type offense where they would just drive and kick, and Duke couldn't keep the ball in front of them. If you can't keep the ball in front of you, then the drive and kick offense works every time. So, yeah, it was just the adjustment of the zone. I thought was the key thing, and then you got to make shots, and they did that down the stretch.
I saw a video posted by your wife on Facebook, Jake, and it wasn't a video of you celebrating a Duke win. It was a video of you celebrating a North Carolina loss. So, what is it about the human condition that creates so much joy? Because when the Bears lose in the NFL season,
You get it.
I'm happy, I'm celebrating. What is it about this a rivalry that's deep that makes you have extreme joy when they lose?
I don't know. I just like I really what's really weird though, because we're so close to Kentucky. I think I don't like Kentucky more than UNC, and my UNC fans will and my guys will probably give me some crap for that. But yeah, like me and my youngest daughter, she watches every game. Addie, she loves it. She was there with me. Nicole's on the couch filming us. Really paying attention to what she's doing. She just thinks we're hilarious. So yeah, we were actually cheering like we were at the game and on the front row because UNC got beat, and it was just an awesome game. They were up by 19. I'm checking my phone, seeing them, losing. I'm like, or sorry, winning at the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even watch it. I get home and I turn it on. I'm like, oh my god, it's like a one possession game. So yeah, you know how it is. You're a Packers fan, so it just makes you feel really good when the team you don't like loses.
I have a friend that's become a good friend of mine that's on the VCU staff. So I texted him when he got the draw in North Carolina, and I said, "I think you got a really good draw, man, because they're down
Yeah,
their major guy, they're not really peaking at the right time, and Illinois, if you beat North Carolina, Illinois is a very streaky team. They're fantastic, but they're super streaky. So you catch them on an off night, you could win a couple
yeah.
games here." And something I thought was interesting is I texted him and I said, "How much do you like? How much do you get to prep between one day of games? That's all you get is one day." And he said it's more about preparing us than preparing for them, because you don't want to overload them with a
Yep.
ton of information. You want to keep it simple. It's more so making sure you're on your best game. And I thought that was interesting because I haven't really thought about that before. But I do understand it. And I think the rooting against teams is one of the weirdest things you'd have to explain if like aliens came and inhabited the earth. They'd be like, why do you care if this team loses? It's like, I don't know, but I really care. So,
Here, video proof of us, like, yeah, actually out and celebrating the UNC loss. So, and I honestly do think like Kentucky, because like I said, Duke and UNC is the rival. And don't get me wrong, you saw the video. I really do not like UNC, but there's just so many Kentucky fans around here, so it makes it kind of worse just where we live at. So that guy hit the shot. I was gutted. He always hit the shot. It was awful. And then they came back and won in time. So I went from one high to like one low, and that's just March Madness, though, right?
That is March Madness. And I do want to say, you're already doing much better than Keelan and Capel, my regular co-hosts. So guys, if you're listening, you got to step up your game. Our episode that played last week, I asked them to speak as if it was a month later because, we were filming way in advance. And I asked them both how they're both doing, and both of them, within 5 minutes of me telling them that, said cold and mentioned snow. And I was like, guys, you got to get your crap together. But since appearing on Old Dawgs podcast and Shawnee Performance and Rehab being our sponsor, Keelan is now so swamped in business. I think he owes us some royalties over here. But there's some things I do want to get to. I do miss you guys. Hope you can come back soon. There's a few things I want to get to about coaching. And the first thing is you had a player come through your program, just graduated as a senior, that broke the all-time scoring record. And I want to kind of go into what that takes and what that's like and how you coach that. So first of all, can you discuss this young lady who achieved the feat and what the points record were?
Yeah, so Jameson Green, she just broke the school boys or girls all-time scoring record. She was recently named co-SI Player of the Year. Like I guess this was what is today. My days are so crazy. Thursday, I got a text message and asked for her number and like some quotes you know, about her and her accomplishments. So, she's had a really great career. I know in fifth grade, fourth grade, even before she started working on basketball, and she would be up here shooting after our games when she was in elementary school. So, all the time and hard work she put in is like I told the SI guys, like finally getting rewarded in a big way. She's I just honestly just let her be her. I think we've had like 8 or 9 1,000 point scorers here in the last 15 years, and I think that you can overcoach kids, especially kids that are really skilled. So it's just like you have a huge skill set that a lot of girls don't have. Being able to score and post up, being able to shoot threes, transition points, getting the ball and making moves and going and getting buckets. Like, we just try to let her be her. And I know her teammates did a really good job of getting her the ball, setting her screens and things like that. So, it's been a fun 4 years. We're definitely going to miss her.
I was privileged enough to coach an all-time leading scorer for a school as well. So that's kind of why I wanted to have this conversation. And I was curious, when do you think like this kid's got it? Because some people would say middle school, and I'm not sure about that because I've seen a lot of really talented middle school players kind of fizzle out.
Yeah.
I guess I could accept it if you're just like that far above everyone else at a young age. For me, it was the freshman year. Like, man, this person is making impact in varsity games, and that's really incredible to do as a freshman. Whether you're scoring a ton or not, you can be impactful versus you're just a chess piece on the floor we're kind of using as a pawn. You might be hiding, whatever it is. You know the deal. So what do you think? If I said, when do you know that someone's going to be great? What would you say?
I don't think in middle school because there's just there's been so many kids that have been amazing in middle school that are just like average in high school. I think in high school, I also think their freshman year. Um, for me, with her, she was great in junior high. Obviously, she scored a lot of points, and we won a lot of games and stuff like that. She was great then. It was like it was her first tournament at Kaskaskia College. She came out. She's our first person off the bench, and I put her in the game. And within 5 seconds, she got a steal, went down, Euro step layup, came back down, got a rebound, got out in transition, passed ahead, trailed the play, hit a three, and then I was just like, yeah, she's good. And that was and summer basketball, summer basketball. You just play. Everyone don't have everyone, but like to get a steal, come down, Euro step in traffic, boom, 2 points, come down, get a rebound, pass ahead, which is a big thing for me at least. Get the ball out and then trail the play or trail and cut, something like that. And then she trailed it and we kicked it back to her, hits a three. So for me and her, like that very first game of her freshman summer, like that's when I was like, she's this girl's gonna be good. And then
Yeah.
she improved like every year, obviously, but like that moment right there was when I knew.
Yeah, I think there's a misnomer in middle school sports where if you're great in middle school, you're going to be great in high school, and even down to like they're starting like third grade now.
Yeah,
And I think being great in middle school can almost be more dangerous than predictive of your future because you kind of rest on your laurels a little bit. Now,
mm,
it can go either way. I've seen good talent in middle school make it to high school and be fantastic, and I've seen good talent in middle school fizzle out. And sometimes I don't know how it is in girls basketball. I've just seen boys, so I don't want to speak for both. But sometimes that boy is just bigger, and he's bigger than everyone else, and that's kind
yes,
of bad news for middle school boys because that means you may not be growing as much on the tail end. So then they play like center and they're getting out rebounding everyone, and then they end up being 6'1", which is great in eighth grade, and you're dominating everyone. But then you get
yeah,
to high school and now you're a guard. And I think middle school coaches can do players a disservice too by positioning them and
yeah,
saying, all right, you're a center. It's like, hey, no, we all need to be able to work on the ball, shoot, play off the ball, defend everyone. You know what I mean? Does that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You don't really get that as much the size thing with girls. Besides, like now, fifth, sixth grade, that's when you see that comparison of a girl being like just way much, a lot bigger than everyone else. In junior high, like because girls are typically more smaller than boys or men. So yeah, you don't really get that a lot in the junior high level because of the comparison of if you have like a 5'7", 5'8" girl in junior high, she's probably going to be around that size in high school. And I've seen playing boys basketball, just watching basketball, there are a lot of boys that are just like dominating the paint in junior high. Then they get in high school and they can't shoot free throws because they never had to. So Jameson was kind of was she was a point guard pretty much in junior high, shooting guard. Um, when she got to high school, but she was, she's 5'10", 5'11", which is very tall for a girl, especially in our area. So she's strong. So we put her in the post. And her freshman years, I don't think she liked us very much because she's never really played like had her back to the basket and played in the post. So, but we told her like with how big you are and your skill set, like you're going to score a lot of points in the post, and she did that, and that's like that speaks to her because she was just so coachable, and you get a lot of kids that score 2,000 points. Schools, they don't want to hear you. Like, nah, I got this. I can do this. Like, I'm good, coach. You know what I'm saying? And like, yeah, the first time she was like, and it wasn't like saying no. It's just like, I don't know if I can do that. You know what I mean? Because she's always dominated
Yeah.
the ball or played off the ball outside. And honestly, it was all her. Like we showed her a few things, and then the type of kid she is, like she just went to work, and a lot of that stuff was just learning on the fly, and she became a very good post player and scoring in the post for us. And I think that's helped her out, with her point averages and things like that over the years.
I've been able to work with two girls up here in Chatham that play for Glenwood, and they went to state this past year.
Yep.
Fantastic group of athletes, man. I mean, in softball, they've got about 6 Division I players in their lineup, and their girl batting ninth is a freshman that's ranked nationally. They didn't lose a game last year, and this year they're all juniors. They're all sophomores last year, so that gives you perspective. And it's actually amazing. They've got Wisconsin, Purdue, Ball State, UT Martin. Like you just go down the lineup and it's basically this all star. But I'm working with these
Uh,
girls and it's basketball, and their basketball team is exciting and really talented. And for AAU now, they travel like an hour and a half north of Springfield. So you're in the capital. You have access to a lot of people. And they're
yeah.
traveling like an hour and a half north to practice and then an hour and a half back. So it's 3 hours of driving a week for practice. And I've talked to them about it, and they said there's no good girls basketball AAU options. And then I was talking to another AD last week, and she said the same thing. She was lamenting that girls basketball AAU is kind of a crapshoot in this area. And it's new to me because I have two boys and I coach boys basketball. Why do you think there's that a big gap in AAU access for girls? Is it just merely interest?
Yeah, I think softball is it's just like it's so dominant. You know, for me, like I think it's, and I coach softball and I love softball. My oldest daughter is that's what she does. That's her favorite sport. So and this is just my opinion, but like it's just I think it's easier. More kids get to play. Basketball you got 5 kids on the court. Softball you have 9, 10 with a DP/flex. So so to speak, you can have 5 extra kids playing. So more kids have to play and be on the field, rather than 5 in basketball. It's more. I think this is like the biggest thing. It's more accessible, as in you can go in your yard and play softball. You can go to the park and play softball. We have Shaw Street here in Harrisburg, as you know. There's 3 fields. Anyone can go out there and be on them at any time. So you always have access to practice. And in basketball, you're not getting in the gym. Like the gym is at the school. You don't have keys. It's harder to do because you know, if I want to go shoot, I might go to the park, which kids don't go to the park. Boys or girls really don't go to the park. Whenever I grew up, the park a day like today in Harrisburg, there's like 100 people out there just playing basketball. And with girls, that's never been the case. And me and Coach Griff talk about this all the time. Like girls just don't play pickup. Now it's to where like no one plays pickup, but girls like especially don't play pickup. So, but their dad will take them out to the field and hit. They'll take 3 or 4 girls out there and hit. I do it all the time with my kid and have done it with my kids. When I come to the gym, it's just usually when Addie's the one. My youngest is the basketball. She loves basketball. We'll come up here just me and her, but we have access to the gym. So I think that's a big thing. In our area, we have the Illinois Bears. They're located out of Carterville, John A. Logan. So that's good for us. There's also I think there's like 2 teams in Cape, which is about an hour and a half drive from Harrisburg, and that's also good. Evansville, I have a player that plays in Evansville. That's about an hour drive. They have good programs in Evansville. Paducah has one that's 45 minutes, and then our biggest ones that are well known is in who Jameson Green played for. They're up in Belleville area. I'll say St. Louis for people. It's more easier to understand. So that's 2.5 hour drive. So there are places around here. We're lucky to have those places, and we send kids to like all over to those places to play.
It's funny that you say you're lucky to have them. That's a far drive still.
Oh,
That's it's still
besides
it's
Carterville, like yeah. Well, and I mean, like, you've lived here forever, so it's far, like, to think about, like, in terms of, the distance or the thing. But, like, for us, like, driving to Paducah, like, you have to go. If you want to go to the mall, you're going to Paducah. If you want to go to the mall or go, get something, you know, clothes wise or out to eat, you're probably going to Paducah to Evansville. So that's just an hour where we live, where our town's 9,000 people. Like, that's like driving, just down the street for us.
I think I went to Paducah for prom dinner. So yeah, I tell people when they ask where we're from, and I usually say like it's by Carbondale. I'm not going
Yep.
to tell you Harrisburg, so you're not going to know. And I say it's kind of by the Kentucky border. We went to Paducah, Kentucky for all of our meals,
Yep.
and or Evansville to the mall growing up or whatever it is. Getting back to coaching a superstar, I'll say for me, it was important for me to acknowledge with my team that this was the player we were playing through. Whenever you have someone encroach 2,000 points, that's just the facts,
Yeah.
and it's really hard to manage, I guess, the human ego in those conditions because you're basically asking everyone else to take a slight step back. Now, you might be saying we're all one, we're all together, we're all one team. Like yes, 100%. But when it comes down to who we want to have the ball when it matters, it's probably this one person, or who do we really want the offense to flow through? Like, for example, the player I had that broke the school scoring record, he was number 30, Jake. And I had an out of bounds play on the baseline called 30. And it was a isolation, just get out of the way. We're going to lob it over the top. We started 4 low, pop the 2 block high like normal, passed over the top, but there was nothing else after that. It was everyone now stay spaced out because he's going to attack the rim. But I would tell my guys, I would say, his name is Gus. I'd say Gus has earned this.
Yep.
He stays after away games to shoot if he had a bad night to like 11 p.m. You guys go home and go to bed. He was here the entire summer. And I would just kind of grease the wheels a little bit on that because it was important for me to understand that that's kind of how basketball is when there's one
Yeah.
ball and five people that play. How did you manage all of that having this player come through for 4 years?
Yeah. I mean, basketball is not an equal opportunity sport. The best players are going to get the most shots. They're going to have the ball more and things like that. It's very role defined. If you are a defender, then, you catch the ball, swing it. I don't want you shooting. Go play defense. With her, it was her first 2 years. She played with another 1,000 point scorer. So for 2 years, her freshman and sophomore year, sorry, for 3 years, she played with 1,000 point scorer. Kinsley Smothers, who was also great. Totally different. Smo was really small. She's just a small, tiny guard who can absolutely shoot the crap out of it. So managing those two together was fun, and I've had multiple 1,000 point scorers on the same teams. Um, yeah, but with her, like it was the same thing. Like she's literally here with Coach Dwyer. I know you know Coach Dwyer. She's here with him. Coach Dwyer will be walking his morning laps at like 6:30 a.m. And Jameson, he lets her in the gym, and Jameson's in here shooting and doing things, or and then he'll stop and go rebound and do stuff for her. And it's like Wednesday. We just played on Tuesday night. Like, what are you doing up? Number one, and what are you doing up and at the gym getting shots up? So yeah, if you're putting in that type of work, you're obviously going to be good, and you've earned the right to dominate the basketball, and we're going to try to play through you and get you the ball, and let you do what you do. So yeah, we also had out of bounds play where we just ran a side screen to the corner, and then she would take it out, and then she would just pop back in really fast and be isolated on the post one on one. Running stuff through her a lot. But there's stuff you coach, you've been successful. There's stuff that you can run through your main player, but it also has side stuff for your second best player. And we also had another girl on our team this year who was really good, and she will score 1,000 points next year. And Coral Hathaway, she was a junior. So just those two. I think you have to coach it as in like you guys are like the dynamic duo. Um, you know, like that. You're not separates with Smothers and Jameson the first 3 years. It was like that. Like you guys are the dynamic duo. Like you got to lead the team. You guys got to be the people that score for us, and then everyone else just fall into your roles, and we'll be successful. And then the same thing was this year. With Coral and Jameson, it was like you're the dynamic duo. Any given night. You can be a leading scorer. You can be a leading scorer. It doesn't matter. Your best players have to dominate the ball. So that's how we've done things, and we've won. So, but I like you. I mean, I've had great girls, man. Like that's the key to success. You got to have great players.
You mentioned Coach Dwyer. One of my least favorite Coach Dwyer memories is freshman basketball. He was our freshman basketball coach, and we'd have practice at the 5:30 a.m. slot because that's what
Uh,
freshmen did at
nope.
Harrisburg. And he'd show up with sometimes he'd show up with donuts, Jake, and we'd be like, "This is awesome." He gives us donuts and milk, and then we'd go out there and run like 18 suicides. We're like, what did you do to
Yeah.
us? You just tortured our stomachs. But inversely, I would tell Gus that in games that we had under control, I'd say, why don't you like spread the love and get these other guys buckets and build their confidence up, because there's going to be one day where you're going to need them, whether
Yep.
a team's going to box them on you, which happened, they're going to double down on you, which happened, and you want to make sure they're going to be ready for them when that day comes. And I think that's something as coaches we understand, but maybe not as spectators when they go, "Why aren't you shooting as much?" Where it's like, I could, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to right now. I think it's hard for fans to understand and really grasp. My next question for you is, how many 1,000 point scores have you had? And then also, why do you think you guys have been so successful at having these high volume scores come through?
Oh, let's see. I'm pretty sure 7. I'll try Ashley Farrell, Kelsey Hobbs, Alexa Burtis, uh,
Miller.
Maddie Hawkins, Lottie Miller. That's 5. Carson Davis is 6. Um, I guess Kinsley Smothers would be 7, and then Jameson, so 8. Yeah, and if I'm leaving anyone off, I'm sorry. It's early. I'm not a morning person. But 8. So I'm pretty sure that's it. I would have had 9, but a girl got hurt. So 8, and then Coral, obviously she stays healthy and stuff like that. Like she's like 100 and that right here. She's like 123 away from 1,000. She scored over 400 this year, so she would be my 9th. But 8 and 15 years, so I don't know. God, preaching to kids to get in the gym, especially with girls, is just so much different than boys because if you can get girls in the gym and working on their game, like you're 10 steps ahead of everyone else because no one else is doing that. I think the freedom that we give on offense. My theory's always been if you're not going to shoot the ball, you're going to throw it away. Shoot the ball. Like let's shoot it. Let's go get it. Let's get out in transition. We're getting a shot clock this year. I think since 2014 we've been playing with a shot clock. Honestly, if you looked at our time of shot, whatever time of possession of every time we had the ball, we probably shoot before 25 seconds easily since way back when. So, and just those girls that I speak of, like they all were in the gym extra. And if I had to pick 8 players that were in the gym more than anyone else, it would be, I would pick those 8 players. And it's not because they scored 1,000 points. That's just the reality of it. Like they put the time and effort in. They were calling and texting, "Hey coach, can we get in the gym?" And, I have a really good assistant coach, especially with Coach Mo. If I'm doing something, I call him. He's up here 24/7, letting kids in the gym, getting shots up. So, they just worked at it and got better. And then, whatever they weren't good at, all 8 of those girls, they did something better. Like, my first one was Ashley Farrell. She was a dynamic 3-point shooter. I mean, she could shoot the 3, but, teams are out there guarding you. What? And then she worked on driving and finishing. Kelsey Hobbs, she was an outside player. She worked on scoring down low. Alexa Burgess, she was an outside player, same thing, scoring down low. Maddie Hawkins was just 6'2" and just a beast. So she she can make free throws. I'll give Maddie that. She couldn't make free throws. Her shot got better, but she's 6'2" girl that's athletic, runs like a deer. You're going to be really good, and she did. And she also worked at it. Lottie couldn't shoot. Lottie can get the ball and go past you and score, but you're playing the zone. Then what? Her shot got 10 times better. Karsten could score inside and out. Smo was able to drive. She was just a 3-point shooter. She learned how to drive, finish with both hands. And then Jameson, hers was posted up. So every kid that I just mentioned, I just said like the secondary thing that they worked on to get to that point.
Everyone's got to have a good counter, especially whenever you go against a good varsity coach, which most are. Some aren't, but most are. And they'll watch 100 hours of film and know what your tendencies are and know you're going to spin to the right. So you got to figure out something else. And we're going to get to more coaching topics next time I have you on. The last thing I wanted to just ask you non-seriously though, is next time you talk to your AD and they have like an honorary night for a legendary coach or someone, tell them a Tuesday night in February is not the best for everyone to get back. So if you're listening, the story is my high school coach who'd been there forever, Randy Smith Peters, had a court dedication where they named a court after him. And they put the vinyl on the court, all that stuff. Really cool moment. And they texted everyone, we'd love all former players to come to the game. And I would love to do it. And then it was a Tuesday night in February. So I was like, how am I supposed to get to this?
Yep. That was a little rough, yeah, trying to have everyone come back and stuff like that. So hopefully we can do something like that and get more people back. Because I had a game or something. I wasn't even able to make it to that because I was out of town with her. So, and that's just one of those things. I was devastated, but I missed so much of her games throughout the season because we're playing. She's junior high, so that was tough to miss. But I agree. If it was on a weekend and I was there, you were there. There was probably more people there. So I'll be sure and tell Langley that.
Is it still Langley?
It is still Langley. Yep.
Man, good for him. Is he still coaching wrestling?
Actually, he just retired from wrestling coach. He just put in. I just saw like this past week, Monday or Tuesday, I believe it was. I just saw those. So, yeah, hopefully he's still going to be AD. He's great. He's great. He he takes care of us. Anything we need, like we literally like never need nothing. What I really like about Lang is he lets me do my schedule. That is the best. Like, and I think that good AD should be like that. Like, you don't have to go to, Carbondale on Tuesday night. I don't want to go there on Tuesday night, so don't make me.
That's
Um,
right.
and he's been great. Like, he's like, yep, just let me know, and then he'll confirm everything. So, we put together our schedules, and he just confirms them and locks in the referees or umpires or whatever. He's very, very good at just like letting you pretty much do what you want to do with your schedule because he knows he's coaching wrestling all winter and going here and going there, so he knows how it is. But I also hear people like, yeah, well, we can't do this, we can't do that because my athletic director said this, and my hands are tied and stuff like that. And I don't think that's how it should be because we're coaching our program and we're trying to set stuff up for our kids. We were coming up to where are we coming to? Oh my gosh, Rosary High School. My family's from Chicago area, so and it was just like, I'm talking to that guy, and like I'm like Lang, like we're wanting to make a trip, in January. It's up by Chicago. Like, can we go? And he's like, sure, just have him send me all the stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, well, thanks. That was so, and it got canceled because of the weather. That's when it snowed like 85 inches, and then it was up in Chicago, up in you're Springfield, but up in Chicago it was like negative like 25, and you couldn't go outside, you'll freeze to death. So we wasn't able to go, but we got scheduled again next year. We'll try then.
Yeah, I agree on all things AD. Is he still wearing shorts year round, even in the winter?
Oh yeah. So how I
Man,
go to work, yeah, how I go to work. He lives like kind of down the road from me, so it's it's I go to work at like 7:15, 7:20 ish. He's outside walking his dog, and I'm in my car. That I warmed up my car for 20 minutes, have the heat on, and I'm still in my car shivering. And this guy's in shorts and a hoodie walking his dog down the road, and it's like -2 outside. I'm just like shivering in my car like this. Like, I'm looking up, and like he's just walking like it's a nice April day with his dog, like it's nothing in shorts and a hoodie.
man, it's amazing how some people don't change. It's been, I don't know, feels like 20 years since I was in high school. Jake, thanks for joining. We are going to do this again here soon. Hopefully Keelan or Cable can join us. And if they do, I'm going to make you answer some of the would you rathers I throw at them.
Oh,
Um,
especially with those two.
Capel hates him. Keelan loves him. It's a real love-hate relationship. Capel thinks he's going to get in trouble saying something. Keelan's a great friend, and he just
Yeah, I
really gets
watched.
up for it.
What was it? I watched the last one. It was a question. Would you rather? Oh my gosh, the football
It
one.
was would you rather get hit on a slant by Ray Lewis or
Yeah,
participate in as many spelling bees as possible until you win one, which I thought was a genius idea. What would you think?
yeah. That was a good one. I like that. What Capel said, get hit, right?
No, Keelan ended up going, if you listen to it, we're recording this before it comes out. Keelan ended up saying he'd take the hit. Capel's like really responsible in nature. So he's saying, I'll do the spelling bee. I ended up even lowering it to middle school spelling bee because we all decided no one could win a high school
Yeah,
spelling bee.
yeah. I think what Capel say, like if you do enough of them, then you're sure enough to get through or something like that. Yeah, I was cracking up. Yeah, like if you do enough of them, you're sure enough to win at least one. Like, oh, is the question would be like, is the spelling like kids from like this area, or you're gonna have the kids that's on there that are like, shirt, suit, tie, hands behind their back, like real serious. They can spell like every word. That's the real
You're
like.
asking the right questions, and we do address it. We end up saying Harrisburg High School, and then we decreased it to Harrisburg Middle School. We went through this whole process, and
Okay,
because
yep.
I don't think we could win a spelling bee at a high school level. I don't think any of us could.
Well, it's funny because like I'm one of the people, one of the judges for our spelling bee here in Harrisburg. So, yeah, Capel, if you listen to this, like I'm going to get you on the spelling bee next year. We've already had this year, and I'm going to get you on. We're going to do it, and we're going to have Hunter. I'm going to set up the phone. We're going to go live. We're going to face. We have what was it? We have fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. So, I can make that happen. If you really want to do it, I can make that happen and get them on.
That would make my entire year. Out of all the interviews and all the people I've talked to, that would be number one.
I mean, I
Just
really
picture.
have his big 6'2", 3 self setting amongst children next year. We do it when we do it. We start in January. Uh, the pre-rounds, I guess, would be like, we do each school. We pick a school champion from each side. We pick a school, or every grade, sorry. And then, yeah, so we pick all the grade level, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. Eighth, we bring them all together at the middle school. I can make it happen.
Dude, that's so, well, we have to try. We have
You
to
got to
try.
try.
All right. I got to let you go. You've got a softball game to get to. Thanks for joining. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.